you ready? It's the Roundtable with me, Robert Bannon.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Listen, I am so excited for tonight's show. And I have to tell you, out of all of the shows I've done, I think I'm the most nervous because I am such an admirer and fan and have looked up to this gentleman for so much. Michael Feinstein is here, and I am so excited to have him. As a little kid in Paramus, New Jersey, at Carol Naso's dance studio, I took musical theater, and one of my first solos was I love a piano, I love a piano. And I have been listening to that live, the album that he did it, which is him and the piano, since 1990. So I'm so excited to be here. And he's here and he's live and he's ready to talk to you about his brand new album, Gershwin Country. And I can't wait to talk to him. So can we just get right started? I have a clip of some of my favorite moments. And then when we're done, he'll be live right on the screen with us. And I'm so excited for you to get a chance to talk. So take a peek at this.
You are bringing a young man to the show tonight that we have done nothing but read about in the papers here.
I know. Wonderful. He worked with Ira Gershwin as his. He really fixed all the music together, got all the original lyrics, and worked for him really as a historian of the Gershwin things.
Well, let's bring Michael out here.
Just a tanker, you're everything a gent is. Still I'm non-compos mentis with you.
Yeah,
no, I just can't get started with you. I love to run my fingers over the keys, the ivories, and with the pedal. I love to meddle when Paderewski comes my way. Let's both agree that I'm for you and you're for me. And should I love you, you would be the last to know. I won't send roses. There will be other songs to sing. Another fall, another spring. But there will never be another you. Come on and listen to the lullaby of Broadway. The hidey-hi and boo-ba-doo. The lullaby of Broadway. Close to you. Close to you.
Oh, sweet and lovely, lady be good. Oh, lady be good to me. No, no, they can't take that away from me. Someone to watch over me.
And he's here, ladies and gentlemen, Michael Feinstein.
How are you?
It is so nice to meet you and have you here. It's really, truly an honor. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for asking me, Robert.
I have been an admirer. I've gotten to go to many of your clubs. I've performed at your clubs. I've watched your concerts. I have watched and listened to your music for so many years. And then I listened to this new album. And perfect. Now we're the same. The new album is so gorgeous. What a wonderful idea. What a group of performers you have join you.
Well, thank you. It's an odd idea, I guess, this new project, because when I mention it to anybody, they'd always say, "What?" to wrap the brain around an idea that combines Gershwin with country music, but it seemed like a natural to me because I knew how it could work. I knew how it would come together with the having a Nashville band and having these guests, because country singers are the last bastion to me of people who really are storytellers lyrically. So that was the idea, and it's been great. It's been on the country charts. I sang at the Grand Ole Opry last weekend, and who knew?
You're a country star. Well, what I loved about the album is the way it's reinterpreted, but the personality. I think you're right. The melody and the musicality of country music is kind of reminiscent of the Great American Songbook in a way.
Yes. There's definitely a crossover there. So I wanted to highlight that, and it's been wonderful. It's really been great. So.
Well, I love the whole album, but there is one particular track that really, I mean, I'm a little bit of a giant. I may have.
Cher, right? That's Cher. Is that Cher? Looks like Cher. No?
It's not all right. It's not the greatest interpretation, but there's a little bit of Liza everywhere. And I got to play at Feinstein's at Vitello's the day after you and her were there for your show.
Oh gosh.
I actually, your set list was still, a copy of it was in the green room, and I was like, what is he singing? Look, we should have been here. And what an honor to be on the day after you, just the two of you. I loved the duet between the two of you is stunning. Everyone needs to go out and stream this album today.
Well, thank you. Liza was the executive producer of this album. People say, why? And it's because she knows Gershwin certainly as well as I do, because her father, Vincent Minnelli, was close friends with the Gershwin brothers, and his favorite song was Embraceable You. And I used to accompany him so long ago. He died in 1986, but in the last several years of his life, I'd accompany him at parties where he'd sing it. And of course, Eliza's mother, Judy Garland, sang Embraceable You in the movie Girl Crazy. So she wanted to sing that song. I asked her to be on the album. She said, why would I be on this album? She said, as a singer, she says, it's Gershwin Country. It's Dolly Parton, it's Brad Paisley, it's Lyle Lovett, and all the other, Roseanne Cash, etc. And then I convinced her. And the weird thing is that to a lot of people, that's their favorite track on the album. So there you are.
I love it. Yeah, and talking about Roseanne Cash, that's a gorgeous number two. Rose says it's her favorite. I mean, we all have a favorite. It's definitely an album you can listen to from beginning to end. It's beautiful, and it's streaming everywhere. People can take buy a copy. You can buy a copy. They buy a copy as you can. Well, I wanted to ask a little bit about you. You have one of the most fascinating stories. I know that you're from Ohio, and when I read and was researching, talking to you, one of my favorite stories was that I read, and I don't know if it's true, about you and piano lessons. Did you anger your piano teacher? Because you had a natural ear to play the piano?
Yes. Short answer, yes. I was 5 years old when I started playing the piano, and I started playing by ear. My parents had just enough money to buy a piano and sacrificed living room furniture for a piano because they hoped that one of us three kids would play. And I sat down and started playing immediately by ear. I literally could play. I knew how to play the piano. As weird as that sounds, I could just do it. And they sent me for lessons, and my mom would wait out in the hall every week while I had my lesson. I don't know how long it was. And she'd always play the exercise and then ask me to play it. And I just listened to her and I'd copy it. So after about 6 weeks, she put the music in front of me and I said, well, would you play it? She said, no, play it. I said, I can't. She said, why not? I said, because you have to play it for me. And she got really mad, and she went out to the hall and she said, Mrs. Feinstein, do you know that your son is playing by ear? As if it was, the dirtiest, most awful thing. And my mom said, yeah, I knew. She said, didn't you know? And she said, no. And so from that point, I just did it on my own, even though I have to say, I went back years later and there was a wonderful lady named Marjorie Cook who taught me chord substitutions, and I learned things along the way, but I never had true formal musical training. And I'm not being facetious. I think it shows in that I feel limited in some ways, but everybody plays to their strong suit, I think, ultimately.
Well, we don't know. We love your catalog of music for sure. When you went to LA after, growing up in Ohio, how, I know you've probably told the story a million times, but if you don't mind, how did it happen? How did Ira Gershwin and you meet? Where did you go to LA to become a singer? Was that the point of moving out west?
I had no plan. I just knew that I had to move to California. There was some very strong voice from the time I was quite young that said, move to California. And it was so insistent that I did. And when I got there, I started playing in piano bars. And then I have always been, for most of my life, a record collector. And I found a whole bunch of records, phonograph records, that belonged to the pianist and Gershwin expert Oscar Levant by a series of coincidences. And then I bought these records. They were private recordings going back to 1934, air checks, rehearsals, all kinds of amazing stuff. And I ended up meeting his widow, June Levant, through a series of other permutations. And eventually she created an introduction to Ira Gershwin. So less than a year after I moved to California, I was working for Ira Gershwin, cataloging his collection of music. And that morphed into a 6-year association where I became his eyes and ears to the outside world. And I became his literary executor, named in his will as that. And it was an unexpected, life-changing 6 years. And of course, the years of age 20 to 26 are formative years for anybody. So for me, they were heightened in the most extraordinary way.
And well, here's I believe this is we've dug around and found this picture from that time. What a introduction to show business. I mean, from the best, the greatest to ever do it.
Well, Ira was an extraordinary man. For people who might not know, he was a lyricist. He wrote the words to classic Gershwin songs with music by his brother George Gershwin, who died in 1937 at the age of 38 from complications of a brain tumor. And George Gershwin wrote popular songs that are timeless. And Ira outlived George by 50 years. And he was living history to me. And he introduced me to whatever contemporaries were still around. And so I got to meet Harry Warren, who wrote Lullaby of Broadway and 42nd Street and At Last You're Getting to Be a Habit with Me and Jeepers Creepers. And I met all these amazing people, but it all happened because of Mr. Gershwin. So it was my college education, you know.
Truly. And Rosemary Clooney, as she says in that clip we saw, was the neighbor. And you then, how did the transition? Well, you really are an archivist. You are a historian of the Great American Songbook. I mean, you are the gatekeeper. You have studied it, and you have records, from what I understand, and you really have been a collector, quote, of this music and kept it alive. How did it? It's timeless. It will live forever. How did you transition from that role to the performer and put out your own versions of these songs?
I had been playing in piano bars the whole time while I was working for Ira. From the time I moved to California, I was playing in piano bars, eventually migrated to mainly playing in gay bars because they were the most accepting of my playing old songs and show tunes. Because most of the other places I worked, if I wasn't playing the pop contemporary stuff, they weren't interested. But there were a lot of people who were, and a lot of straight people would come into gay bars to hear show tunes, to hear that music. And so I met extraordinary people during that time, but it was the same time that I was working for Ira. And so I would work till 2 or 3 in the morning, and then I would go to Ira's house in the day and then go to Harry Warren's house for a while. And I helped Harry for a period. And so after Ira died in 1983, when I was 26, that was August, November, his wife Lee, Gershwin fired me because we always had a problematic relationship for various reasons. And so suddenly I was out, and I started playing in piano bars till I could figure out what I was really going to do, because I didn't think that there was any future in just playing in piano bars. But I thought, well, if I play in piano bars the rest of my life, that's not so bad. I was making decent money and I loved the music. And from there, I got an offer after about two years after I retired to play the Algonquin Hotel in New York because somebody saw me in California. And that was what really put me on the map in a big way. Even though I should say, I'm talking too much, I'm sorry, but in 1985, I had met Liza Minnelli along the way because Liza's father, Vincent, was close friends with the Gershwins. And so I knew Vincent quite well. And eventually I met Liza. And we became very close during that period. And so Liza threw a big party for me in LA, which included so many amazing people who were there. Melissa, of course, Melissa Manchester was there because I'd become friendly with Melissa and her wonderful family. And Elizabeth Taylor and Gregory Peck and Henry Mancini. And I mean, it was just the most terrifying group of people. But she threw that party, and then she hosted my opening in New York. So it was amazing.
I was singing I Love the Piano. I mean, you could, that album, that your run there, or one of the runs there, is a live album. It's streaming. You could listen to that recording back from 1986 of that particular album. And that's the album that I grew up listening to because we did that in the Bergen Mall in Paramus, New Jersey. I hope you know that you were inspiration at the Bergen Mall in front of the Stearns in Paramus. That's it. And then from there, it's been, 4 residencies on Broadway, tours, millions of albums, and you've kept this music alive and out there in front of audiences, and we just want more and more. And your voice, and you talk bad about your piano playing is so beautiful, and your voice tied with the orchestrations of what you do. There's no one that does a better job, truly.
Thank you. I love the music. I started performing because I cared about the songs. It was always to share the songs with people. And I still have that same enthusiasm for the music. And I have nightclubs because I want to keep that tradition alive because you don't make money with it. But the continuum of the Great American Songbook, I think, is important. It's very important. And I'm lucky enough that for whatever reason, vocally, I'm sort of at a peak of some sort that I'm kind of surprised at this age, at 65 to feel in such vocal control. But something's happened, I think, becoming more comfortable and relaxed in life and having more gratitude and letting go of all the baggage and a lot of the anger that I used to carry. It's changed the way I view the world, and I think the way I perform, which is what every artist hopes for, to grow and to be able to connect with people in a different way. So, well, the original audiences who grew up with this music are long gone. Most of them are dead. And so my core audience died because I was so young when I started. So now it's about bringing this music to different generations and hoping that it appeals to them.
Well, I think it sure does. And I mean, we were talking about Liza before, I have always said, I mean, I think the greatest living entertainer in the world. And she is one of the greatest interpreters of a song. And hearing her speak about the way that she looks at a song like a monologue, and every song has a character, and she teaches as an acting piece. Well, I was watching you sing the song about roses, or singing an up-tempo song, like, that there's the same way. It feels like we're in a room and you're singing to just one person. Is there a process for each song that you go through? Is there a story you tell, or are you focused on the music? What goes through your head so we relate to the song in the way that you do so brilliantly?
It all comes from the lyric. It starts with the lyrics. The lyrics tell you how to phrase, how to sing, the attitude. Everything for me starts with the lyrics. And even though it's the music that first attracts me, but after the music attracts me, if I'm learning something, then I get into the lyric, because that will give me the clues that I need to figure out how to interpret a song, because I can't sing something unless I feel I have an individual expression of what those words are about. And it has to be the same for an audience. And to be able to repeat a song that becomes oft requested, if it's I Love a Piano old friends or where do you start or whatever it is. These songs are ones that are absolutely fresh and in the moment. And so it really is being present with one's emotions, learning how to not be intimidated by looking in the face of someone sitting in an audience and sing to them. It's finding different ways to connect. I also do a visualization where energetically I'm connecting with everybody who is present. So I set an intention.
And I just was reading about that in the artist's way and all the stuff about setting an intention and manifesting and all of that. But that's such a powerful awareness, and it really shines through from when you're on stage. So thank you for that. You can see Michael in person. He has tour dates literally across the country for the rest of the year. You can go to michaelfeinstein.com. And I was excited in LA. You're doing a really fun show at Feinstein's. You and Frida Payne are doing a run of Ella and Frank June 7th and 8th. And you can get tickets. That is what a pair. What a great show that's going to be.
Yeah, a tribute to Ella Logan and Frank Stallone. It's going to be. Yeah.
I love that Frank Stallone. He's so good in the Rocky soundtrack. No,
That's why we pay tribute to him. So,
if you ever wanted to see Michael sing "Eye of the Tiger," Feinstein's at Vitello's. Yes. And of course, you mentioned the nightclubs before. There are 4 of them, and who knows, by the end there may be 5 or 6 more popping up around the world. Has that been a joy? Is it fun to go to your own spots and have your name and be in a different way of introducing this music and the cabaret scene to the people?
Well, it's nice that I only have to sleep with myself to get a job. Sometimes I miss the old days, but is it fun? Yeah, it is. It is because there's a comfort and familiarity, and I appreciate that. The clubs are all thriving in different ways, and we've been in discussion for years to create one in Australia, but then we've been put on hold for a couple of years. But I'm still hoping that happens. And being able to work with Frida Payne is wonderful because Frida is to me an icon, and she had a number of pop records, but she wanted to be a jazz singer. And I say this without wanting to sound hyperbolic, but she is one of the only people I know who can scat in the style of Ella Fitzgerald, and it's completely extemporaneous. She is a great jazz singer, and to me, she is an heir apparent to the throne of Ella, even though that might seem odd to people who know her other work. So I'm thrilled to work with her.
Well, that's going to be a can't miss moment because your Sinatra albums, the Sinatra Project albums, are gorgeous. And I've seen clips. She's been doing this show of singing jazz, and it's going to be a not to miss moment. So get your tickets for sure. A couple of questions, people, and then before we let you go, because they're asking about people you work with. Firstly, watching those clips, I have to just give a big shout out to Ted Firth, who's playing in that video, because I know Ted and have used Ted, and Ted is great. So, I mean, if you're working with Michael Feinstein, you're probably the best that there is. Someone that watches every week asked about Nick Ziobro and asking about him and appreciating the work you've done with him.
Yes, Nick is one of the Songbook ambassadors, the Great American Songbook Foundation in Carmel, Indiana. We have an annual high school Songbook Academy where 40 students from all over the United States come and learn about interpreting American popular song. And it's an amazing bonding experience for all of them and for us as teachers and mentors and guides. And we have a lot of Broadway greats who come and work with the kids. It's wonderful. And Nick is one of the most talented of the group, one of the most talented Songbook ambassadors. Has perfect pitch and an amazing voice, and he can sing anything. He can sing pop music, Broadway. He can do Sinatra stuff. He's an old soul in a young body, and he had a bit part on the show The Gilded Age, and that was the only thing that I enjoyed about it. Well, I mean, great talent in it, but it was kind of silly. Nick is in it. But Nick is singing all over the place, and he did a show recently with Julia Goodwin, another one of our ambassadors. So I feel like they're all my kids.
Yes, well, I saw the lineup you have this year, and people, high school students. You take, like he just said, they take a certain amount of people. That's your organization. You have Shireen Ahmed, and you have Anthony Nunziata. You have really beautiful, gorgeous, talented people and singers. And do you think, as we go through the years, and we just saw a clip of you at the White House singing "Close to You," is there a modern American songbook? Are these songs? Is a song like that? Do you consider it a part of the songbook? What's your definition of the Great American Songbook?
It's ever evolving. It doesn't have a cap on it. It's not old songs. It's songs that last. It's timeless songs. In that the songs written in the teens and 20s, 30s, 40s may be the bedrock of it. But I believe there are songs being created today that if in 25, 30 years, we are collectively singing and know them on a mass level, the same way we know White Christmas or the same way we know Over the Rainbow, those songs become part of the permanent American songbook. But only time determines that. So I believe there are things being created today that will become part of the songbook, enduring songbook, but I don't know what they are.
well, what's great about the Great American Songbook is there's melodies, there's arrangements, there's a story, and nobody does it better, truly, and takes better care of them than you do. And it was such an honor to have you here. I want to remind everyone that they can go to michaelfeinstein.com. You can get your tickets. You can go and stream Gershwin Country, and you can follow Michael on Instagram at Michael Feinstein Sings. The album is so beautiful. I cannot wait to see what you have up your sleeve next. We will all be anxiously awaiting. And I look forward to seeing you in person on a stage sometime really soon.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you very much for wanting to talk to me and presenting me to your audience. So I appreciate that.
You made a lot of us very happy. So thank you so much, Mr. Feinstein, and have a great night. Say hello to Liza for us.
I'm seeing you tonight for dinner, so I will.
You'll have to say we adore her. So thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Michael Feinstein he is the best. He literally is the best and keeping these songs alive that I know. I grew up. Look, my little grandmother, Vincenza de Meglio, would play the Sinatra, Liza, Sammy Davis VHS pay-per-view that was taped, and I grew up on that music and was obsessed with that music. And it's so nice to have grown up and had an example of someone like him that sat down at the piano and did such justice to some of the greatest songs ever. So if you want to listen, this album is so stunning and beautiful. The album is there. It is Michael Feinstein, Gershwin Country, and you can see the amazing list of talent: Amy Grant, Ronnie Millsap, Roseanne Cash, Lyle Lovett, Alison Krauss, Brad Paisley, Dolly. Who doesn't love Dolly Parton? You can stream the whole album or buy the album today. Thank you all so much. I want to tell you a little bit about our next guest. She's no stranger to pop music, to the Great American Songbook, to jazz, to Grammys, to awards, to #1 hit records. Yeah, I have had the pleasure of chatting with this next person. And then at the end of the show, just stick around, because when we're done with Melissa, we are going to do the week in review, and we're going to do my shameless plug. So don't go anywhere, because I want to tell you about the next few weeks of shows. But first, there's a real magical talent coming up. Take a peek at this.
Gentlemen, Miss Melissa Manchester.
Think we can make it one more time if we try. One more time for all the old times of shine, reaching out to touch you. feel so much since I found you, looking through the eyes of love. Don't cry out loud, just keep it in song. Learn how to hide your feelings. Fly high and proud. And if you should fall, remember we almost had it all. Whenever I call you whenever I call you friend.
Okay, everybody, listen. Growing up in my household, we loved a singer-songwriter, and there was one performer that lived forever in the 8-track machine, the cassette player, then the CD player. She has over 12 top 40 hits. She has a career for decades, a Grammy Award winner, Songbook Hall of Fame member. I mean, I have a list of all of the songs here. I was ready to sing literally every single one of them, a piece of every single one of them. But the songs that she's interpreted and the songs that she's written are a part of the American Songbook for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, it's always an honor. Miss Melissa Manchester is here. Hello, Melissa.
Hello.
That's it. I was ready to sing a line from each. I was going to start with "Somebody Told Me" a long time and just go. I was ready and I chickened out in the moment. It would have taken the whole interview. It's so nice to see you every time I hear your music or get a chance to talk to you. It's our third interview. I did a show with E for a year, and now he's on the road and doing his music. Every time I talk to you, I think of being that kid. We grew up to your music. My father said to me, I was leaving work. I'm a school teacher. And he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm going to talk to Melissa Manchester." He was like, "I can't believe this." So thank you. It always means a big deal to us here.
Of course. My pleasure.
Well, you have a brand new project that is so fun. And I was so excited to get to listen to it. Can you tell us a little bit about Live 77?
Yes, this is the wildest thing. Thank you, Joe Marchese, for going into the vaults at Sony and rediscovering this. This was a concert that I performed in 1977 while I was under contract at Arista Records, but they apparently felt this would not be an appropriate follow-up to Midnight Blue, which was my first hit. And so it's been in the vaults all these 40-something years. And it is now out in the world. And it is, it's a full concert. It was recorded on tape, half-inch tape, I believe, not 2-inch. There are no tracks. This is raw. It was basically mixed as it was being recorded. And what it sounds like is you being in the audience of a concert of mine with a band, with one of my bands in those early years. And it really represents that younger iteration of me, sort of at the beginning of my career when my energy was very raw. I had no vocal technique. I was basically singing the way I used to sing in my mother's apartment. I found freedom on stage because, as I'm sure you're aware of, when you're under contract with a record company, sometimes you record things of your choice, sometimes you don't. The longer I was with Arista, the longer I had to fight to have a place on any of my records with my compositions. So this was just a moment in time where I got a chance to express myself live in front of a loyal college audience. And it's very touching. I have such tenderness for that younger me.
Yeah, well, like I said, I got a chance to listen to it. Firstly, I took a picture of the tapes because it's in your CD booklet. And
Yes,
this is what,
that's
they're
it.
reels. No, this is digital cut and splice and tape things
That's it.
together.
That's right. That's right.
And it is the energy that the show starts and this show comes out. This is out like a cannon with a bang.
Yes,
And
it is.
you always sound gorgeous. You sound so gorgeous. The crowd goes crazy. You need. I read the liner notes. Tickets were only $7, $6, and $5.
Yes, I believe I was worth, every penny.
You can't even get a bottle of water now for that at a concert.
I know.
Well, I listened, and it was really wonderful. It's out now. You can get it online. You can go to melissamanchester.com. You can
iTunes,
go
all
to
of
Amazon.
the
There are a bunch.
Exactly.
It
One of
is fun.
the adorable things for me is that the front cover and back cover were taken by a fan in the audience, 19-year-old man by the name of David Lachey, who's now vice president over at TKTS. And it was a black and white photo, and I had it in my files. And I said, when Joe Marchese gave me the original artwork, I said, I have a photo and it needs to be on the cover. And the art director was so magnificent. He colorized it to the actual coloring of the costume that I was wearing, which was designed by my late mom. So it's all just beautiful. It's just all beautiful. Yeah, there it is. Yep.
It is. It's beautiful. The pictures in the whole booklet, if you get the whole CD and album, you'll see there's such a great story behind the entire as this gets stuck on here. Of course, because you're here. Now we're gonna have technical difficulties. The whole booklet and the whole piece is really beautiful, and the story it tells of that time are so great. You're gonna hear a lot of music that one of my favorite. A couple of my favorites. You were on once and sung a little bit of Coming From the Rain. It's on there. There are other amazing songs that are on there. Midnight Blue is on the album, so you can get.
Yeah, but the thing that's touching is to remember that at that point in 77, those songs were recently written, newly recorded. So I was still getting used to singing these relatively new songs. It was amazing. It was very touching. Yeah.
And the opening, Let Me Serenade You, that's what an opener number. What a fun arrangement.
I recorded that on my singing album. I think it was written by David Spinoza. And the groove was so sexy and fabulous. And I love the word serenade because it's true. When you're performing for somebody, you really are serenading them because you don't know where the listener is in their life. And so you're keeping them company on the most intimate level. You're walking their walk with them. So they, don't feel alone. And by serenading, you hope you're lifting their spirits. It's beautiful.
Well, it's a beautiful number. The whole thing from top to bottom is beautiful. And the singing album, which is what you were on the road promoting, I think there's a couple of songs, which was an album that you did of cover songs.
I did. And what was interesting about the cover of Singin' is that was shot on the set of Singin' in the Rain. And they used the rain machine, which you see in the photograph. And on that original rain machine, there were two settings, hurricane and mist. Guess which one I had? So after every take, so we recreated that Gene Kelly scene where the policeman is standing on, waiting for him to finish his stuff. And so I was being pelted with hurricane-like rain. And then in between each photo shoot, they would hose me down with multiple hair dryers because I was just being pelted. Oh, the glamour of it all.
Hey, glamorous job. I get it. Yes.
Glamour, toujours.
Well, you're one of the great interpreters of other people's music, but I'm always fascinated by the songwriting road. You started writing songs and getting paid to write songs at such a very young age.
Yes.
Still in school at Manhattan School of Music, working, writing. How did you get your first singer-songwriter job?
Well, I was actually at NYU School of the Arts where I met my two lovely young colleagues, Jeff Sweet, who has become quite a well-known writer, and Reggie Mitchell, and I would watch them write. I would watch them write songs, and they knew that I was a singer because I was already a jingle singer. I'd already met Barry Manilow and Patty Austin and Nikki Ashford and Valerie Simpson, and just astounding people. And you really learn as a jingle singer about performing because you have to think on your feet, because your client, who frequently has a bottle of scotch right next to them, doesn't really know how to convey ideas effectively. And so you have to sort of listen between the space to understand what they want. And I was going to NYU School of the Arts, and I was watching my friends write, and then I went back to my parents' apartment where the Grand was that I'd studied piano on, and I started to sit down to write, and like a gush, like discovering a second language, songwriting became air. And I just wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. If you sneezed, it was trigger for a song. And I went back to one of the publishing companies that I had performed on behalf of my friends for, and it was Chappell Music, years before it became Warner Chappell. And I performed for Nick Firth, who was the grandson of the founder. And I got a staff writer's job when I was 17. And I was paid a handsome sum, for being a 17-year-old. And I just wrote. I did what I loved to do. And I would go into Dick Charles, which was the famous demo recording studio in Manhattan. And I would record my demos and submit them.
It's a fact that, and I heard you say this in an interview, we talked about it in the past, to get past the fact that Patty Austin, Ashford and Simpson, Barry Manilow, and you were hired to be session singers. Meet studio to sing commercial jingles.
Yep. It was unbelievable. And we were paid very well, and the camaraderie and just to learn on your feet, it was fantastic.
And then of course you and Mr. Manilow and Bette's, that story is legendary. I have some footage pictures you and Barry from
there we are.
Harlettes from
Yes.
How did that all come about? How did the Harlettes are iconic. They're a legendary. You guys were.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Well, I was a founding member of the Harlettes because at that point, are you getting some kind of sound on your?
There's a little bit of some kind. I was trying to mute myself. Does it help if I mute?
Yes, it does.
I'll
Anyway,
try to. I don't know what I heard a humming noise outside, so I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries. Well, like I said, I met Barry through jingle singing, but at the same time, he was the new music director for Bette Midler. And she had been on the Carson show a couple of times, and she was a frequent guest performer at the Continental Bath House, which was across the street from a club I was playing at called The Focus. And on her night off, Barry brought her in to see me, get to know me. And she had never been a jingle singer. She had never been part of a group, and she idolized girl groups. So after my set, I went over to meet her and asked her what she was up to. And she said she was getting ready to be on the Carson show, to get ready for Carnegie Hall, sorry. And I said, well, that's great. And we were all excited for her. And I said, are you thinking of having any background singers? And she said, no, would you like to sing in back of me? And I thought to myself, well, no, I'd actually like to sing instead of you. But in the meantime, I'll sing behind you. But so Barry and I organized the Harlettes. We were originally called the Red Light District, and then MGM for our first initials. And then we were called the Harlettes. And I was with her for about 6 months and then went off on my own. But yes, it was remarkable. I mean, she's such a brilliant woman, and she galvanized at the time a marginalized audience with her song, in particular, You Gotta Have Friends. And she remains magnificent, and I was honored to be one of the handful that paid tribute to her at the Kennedy Center Honors.
Yes, we found one of these pictures here of you guys. Yes. It was such a beautiful, David made that beautiful outfit for you, and you looked stunning. It was so nice to see you pay tribute because you literally are there from the start. It was lovely.
Yes, yes, it was amazing. And they're very strict in keeping the secret of who will be paying tribute. So they beg you not to post anything or tell anybody. So the day before, when they're presented with the actual medal at the Library of Congress, where they get a chance to make a speech, we were all waiting in the anteroom for all of the honorees to show up. And she sees me, Bette sees me, and she says, "It's you? It's you?" And we held on to each other, and she kept rocking me. "It's you. It's you." It was so dear. It was really dear.
It was what a beautiful moment.
It was sensational.
Well, from there, you go on to meet Carol Bayer Sager.
Yes.
And
Well, Carol actually saw me at my last concert with Bette on New Year's Eve at Lincoln Center. And she got my number and hired me to sing on a demo of hers. And I had been writing at that point, but alone, always alone. And at the end of our demo session, she said, "Do you write?" I said, "I do." She said, "Would you like to write with me?" I didn't know what that meant, but I went over to her home, and I did not know that I was the first artist that she wrote specifically for and with, because she was a staff writer. And I only learned that years later, but it was intriguing to have these deep conversations as young married women and as women witnessing the beginning of the women's movement, and not writing songs for that purpose, but trying to write songs to help find our voice, because we were having such trouble communicating effectively with our husbands or with my record company or with agents and managers.
Mhm.
But in songwriting, there was clarity. In songwriting, there was concision and synthesis, and that was the place where ideas became clarified. Yeah.
Well, the songs that you wrote have literally been covered by dozens and
Yeah.
dozens of artists, aside from your recordings of them, and they live on
you.
forever. They're
Thank
they're so beautiful. I get stuck. I'm the person in the gym on the elliptical machine, and for some reason, you and I, or Midnight Blue, or Coming from the Rain, like they're the music. They're so uplifting. They have melodies. They have arrangements. They are just beautifully instrumentation wise and musically wise that they will live forever.
Thank you. Thank you. They were written in an age when pop songs were still melody driven.
Mm-hmm.
If you took away the drum, if you took away the bass and just played it on piano and guitar, you would still have a composition. Today, it's upside down for me anyway, because people are writing melodies and lyrics to tracks. So it's odd. It's sort of upside down. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Well, your relationship with Carol, we'd be remiss to not mention that you did go on to record, other songs by her that she wrote.
Yes.
And
Oh, sure.
Question: how did you guys were so close? You wrote so many songs together. When a song like "Don't Cry Out Loud" or the theme from Ice Castles, when those songs, does she send them to you? Does she ask you to sing them? Is it the record company how does it work?
No, when Carol and Marvin Hamlish wrote "Through the Eyes of Love" for the film Ice Castles, that sweet film, I think Marvin or Carol, I think they were in the same room. I think they called me up and they said, "What are you doing Thursday? Could you sing this song?" And I said, "Do you need players? Would you like my band?" So I brought in my band and we played "Through the Eyes of Love." And it was as lovely as could be. It was so beautiful. And then hearing how Marvin found that opening melody line by following the ice skaters' figure eights and how it impressed him. It's so touching. He was the dearest of men. And of course, Carol's lyrics were so lovely. And then "Don't Cry Out Loud," there is sort of lore about who found "Don't Cry Out Loud" for me. And they all may be true, from everybody's angle. But I remember hearing Peter Allen sing "Don't Cry Out Loud" very quietly. And I thought, this is special. I mean, this is a composition that so supports that title because it was sung quietly. And in those days, I do not recall whether I was brought in, I probably wasn't, to discuss the arrangement. So I walked in, Harry Maslin was the producer, and my sweet friend, the late Barry Fosman, did the orchestrations. And I walked into the studio, and there's a room full of musicians, 50 musicians playing what you hear as the record. And I thought, what happened? What did I miss? And it was so, it was overwhelming in frustration, because that was a pure example of not being heard. And somebody took over, and maybe I relegated my responsibility again, I don't remember. And so what you're hearing is a performance of rage and frustration and clarity. And so that worked for that lyric, because it's a remarkable lyric, and it's a remarkable composition. I mean, it's just a beautiful, beautiful melody and beautiful lyrics. So it worked. But these days, because it has endured and because I sing it very quietly. And it's very touching, because the original intention has returned to me. And what I know to be true is when I perform it in this version, the audience gets very still, and they really hear the inner life of that original composition. And it's thrilling. I mean, that's part of the thrill of having a career that has endured so long. You finally get to do what you wanted to do all along.
Well, absolutely. And I know that there's a lot of stories about working for a record company and them giving you material, especially when you're a songwriter.
Sure.
And I know it's a struggle and a battle, especially as a songwriter. You can appreciate another song, but you have your own babies that you want to release out in the world.
You do, and it's a very odd position to take, because of course you're grateful for the platform, and yet because I started as a pure singer-songwriter when I was with Bell Records, my first 2 albums, Home to Myself and Bright Eyes, they were my compositions with other collaborators, but they were my compositions. And then I made my first album for Arista, which was the Melissa album that had Midnight Blue and Just Too Many People. And then little by little, I was being sort of edged out of my own compositions. And then by the early 80s, when electronic music started to take over, I just was in a land I had never visited before. And it was complicated for me, because by the time I made the Mathematics album, I was always grateful for the adventure, the musical adventure. And I always tried to find where I could live in a musical adventure, either lyrically or a turn of a phrase or a harmonic invention that was really clever and I hadn't thought of. But the actual sound of electronics just made me so nudgy. It just felt like I was only eating sugar, and that's never a good thing. So I really loaned myself out as the girl singer, and I was not involved in that production. But what's funny about the Mathematics album is that a lot of my students really dug that, because it was so bright and edgy sounding. So yeah, it was all good. It's all good.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You have such a catalog now of music. I mean,
Yeah.
You have the fun up-tempo, You Should Hear How She Talks About You, and all of that, to the big ballads, to the singer-songwriter piano moments. How do you, and you've covered, your Fellas album is a critical acclaimed, beautiful album of a tribute. We were talking about singing before. How do you build the Melissa Manchester concert experience now? Because you have all of these songs. So how do you put together an evening of music? When we come to see you live, what do we expect to see?
Well, I certainly cover a great many of the hits, because these are gifts, And then I intersperse them with some lesser known songs lately, because we're coming out of this pandemic, and we're certainly not out of it, but it's been very interesting. I was saying to somebody earlier that I just came from doing a little Florida tour, a little East Coast tour, and a little Midwest tour. And I played out here in California a bit. And what's been very interesting was that in these days, you sort of feel like you're doing a USO tour for the front lines, because the audience is sort of coming out and so thrilled, relieved to be in community again, and I certainly am. And I'm doing meet and greets again after the show. So I'm putting together, songs that they remember, that hopefully meant something to them. I throw in a Stephen Sondheim song, Being Alive, because during the pandemic, that was the one that became the blueprint of how do we live in this moment? How do we live in this unexpected catastrophe that is being shared by everybody on the planet? So anyway, so it's been interesting. Yeah.
I could talk to you for hours because we don't even touch upon the music, your television career, your movie career, the songwriting career for musicals. You've written your own music, you have your own musical. There's always so much. You are truly like a Renaissance woman who you work and you could tell how much you love it and the art of it all.
I do.
During the pandemic, you had the most amazing project. I can't wait as the landscapers play. We just have it behind me. The review project, if you go online and you take a peek, we're talking about all these classic songs.
Yeah.
You can
yeah, review was something that I thought of during the pandemic. I had always wanted to re-record several of the charted hits. There were certain harmonic tweaks. I've grown into the lyrics. And I wanted to, it was twofold. I wanted to do it for that reason. And I also wanted to own these masters because I don't own any of the masters that are owned by Arista, which has been bought several times. And I also wanted to re-record these without any fades. There are no fade endings at all, because what we've learned on stage, which is so satisfying, the song comes to an end, the audience applauds, and on to the next. And I just think that's fabulous. Fades were created for radio, So I'm almost done with it. It's taken a little longer than I expected, but what I was trying to do was create a video per song. And the first one that we recorded was Just You and I. And what I did not see is how many of these songs grew into this moment. They became a narrative to underscore this moment. Just You and I was homage to frontline workers. Don't Cry Out Loud, when I did the video for that, was to in words to write that all venues have been shut down until further notice, and what that meant, and celebrations, weddings, bar mitzvahs, funerals, everything had been shut, graduations, everything. And so underscoring that with the song Don't Cry Out Loud seemed impactful for me. So that's what it's been about. And I'm recording the very last track now, and we have we're working on the third to the last video. So it'll be out during this year. Yeah. So
well, I've really enjoyed the rollout of them. They're so beautiful. The videos that go with them are so beautiful. And that version of You and I with that choir, I mean, it is on one of the most songs.
Thank you. That choir are my Citrus singers from Citrus College, where I'm artist in residence. And their music department, and this is a little community college not far from here, their music department, their recording studio is so spectacular. And these students, the singers and their musicians, the musicians I had play on all of the tracks in The Fellas, my tribute to the men singers, which completed the idea of tribute, which was my tribute to the women singers. And on Just You and I, the Citrus singers, I wrote those choral parts for them. And these students who perform on my tracks or sing with me, they get real credit for those studies. And they are trained with such compassion and discipline. I mean, it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. I love talking about them because I've performed on stage with them. I've brought them on the road, and they're as good as gold. They're really lovely.
Well, it's so nice to hear it. You have many listeners listening, and one here in New Jersey sure is, for sure. I can't wait for that project to come out. But in the meantime, everybody, while you're waiting for that project, this album, the live album, is out. It's 2 CDs. It's a full show. So you can hear these songs as they were brand new babies. Some of these.
Yep. They were babies, and I was a baby, and we were giving it all and leaving it all on the stage. Yeah.
Well, one of the things I noticed before I let you go is the R&B influence. I feel so bad is so loud. The R&B influence of your voice. You come in with these riffs and these runs and the soul and this band. You
Yeah.
guys are playing.
Yeah, we played hard and we sang hard, and it was that's what I was saying before, is my freedom to to inhabit any kind of music that occurred to me. Um, I was completely clear about that, but the conventional wisdom with record companies, well, during the day, was stay in your lane, don't veer from the lane. And of course, management would say, when you get really successful, then you can do whatever you want. And that sort of sounds like it makes sense, but it's crap. It's just crap. And that's why it's fascinating to be an independent artist in these days. I mean, that simply didn't exist in 1977, but it is what I've learned from my students in the past, I guess, 10 years, is that since YouTube, really, people can stick a flashlight under their chin and get a million hits. Well, in that same spirit, I've created Long Run Entertainment, and that is my record company. And I have, Melisma Music, which is my publishing company. And when I feel a project come over me, I can reach out to my glorious manager, Susan Holder, and say, I have an idea. And she usually says, "Oi." Here we go again.
I love that.
No, she's fantastic. She's fantastic. She'll say, "Oh, okay, how are we going to do this?" And she finds a way, and we get it done. And Sue and I have been, as of last month, we've been working together 39 years.
Wow.
Remarkable. Yes.
But that's because
Yes.
you're such a pleasure. She's such a pleasure.
She's-
Everyone around you, your sister Claudia, your kid, everyone is so wonderful.
Ah,
And
thank
they
you.
reach out to me when I've talked to you to say what a wonderful, and that comes from you and the people that are around you.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Well,
Well, yeah. So that's what we've been doing. So review will be finished up, but this Live 77 will be very interesting to talk about. And I probably will perform some of the lesser performed songs. I'll have to give it a listen and choose some stuff to bring out for the upcoming concerts.
Well, I'm super excited. When you're in the New York tri-state area, he hung up, "Please, can we go see her? Please, can we?" I promise we will go see her. We will go. You are the voice to many people, and your music has inspired many people. I know it inspires me to this day. It's always such a pleasure. Thank you for sharing your heart. In the liner notes of the new live album, one of the piece that stuck with me is, I don't know if it was Clive or someone said, she is a songwriter like of Joni Mitchell or Laura Nyro, but with a voice like Streisand or Bette Midler. And I thought to myself, well, I mean, if you can get 4 people, but they're all amazing, but there's only one Melissa Manchester.
Thank you so much.
You're a pleasure, and it's always an honor to talk to you. Everybody, go to melissamanchester.com, go to iTunes, go to Amazon, go to wherever and get the Live 77, and make sure you see her when she's in your neck of the woods.
Great. Thank you, honey.
So anytime. So nice.
Be well.
There's the album, and you can grab it. And Melissa Manchester is just one of the best. Isn't she one of the best? Thank you, Melissa, for being here for the 3rd time. So good. Yeah, she's incredible and an inspiration. And if you see her, that's her sister Claudia, the Emmy-winning Claudia Kagan of Entertainment Tonight. If you are looking for great music, Michael Feinstein, Melissa Manchester. It doesn't get better than that. Sometimes they even do concerts together. Can you imagine that? They did a whole bunch of them. So we are doing the show backwards. So I have a couple of things that I'd like to say. And some of you are new. Welcome. If you're Michael Feinstein and Melissa Manchester fans, howdy. Welcome to the Roundtable. This used to be Quarantine Cabaret and Cocktails, and now it's just me. You get me. And we have a couple of segments that we do on the show. Here's Weekend. Yeah, we did the show backwards because I didn't want to make anybody wait. I'm not making them wait. I thought long and hard about doing the show, and it's been a really tough week. And I, as a school teacher, I'm tired of having these conversations and having to deal with this. I've kind of stopped going on social media because I can't personally handle all of it much more. And I wrestled with doing the show and what to say. And I think the reality of the situation is that there's nothing to say, and I decided to do the show because I felt like we needed a break from CNN or MSNBC or news breaking in on our television stations to have some fun and talk about something fun. I want to remind everyone that out of all the bad things that happen in the world, there's always more good. We just may not hear about it. So I hope you focus on something beautiful and special tonight. And I hope you understood why we did it. And we live our lives in protest and in honor of the people who aren't lucky enough to be here, right? So that's the truth. So it's been a tough week. So you can't do the week in review without thinking about all of that. But I do know that art is something that is a part of history and will stay a part of a history and document history, and it's important. Like I said, I'm a school teacher, so here's a little clip of my little monsters from my TikTok.
2, 3.
So if you've seen me in concert or you've listened to my music, they're who I spend my days with. So those are my 100 fifth graders that are at Horseman in North Bergen. So when I'm doing this show on Thursday, or I'm at Horseman with Ms. Margaret, who's watching during the day, and then I'm lucky enough to tour and make music. So I'm very lucky to live in the world of all of this, and I'm super grateful for that. So thank a teacher, because they've had quite the week, and they really do make a difference. I work with some of the most dedicated, talented professionals in the world. So especially this week, check on your friends and family that are teachers, because they need it. And look, Asma is one of my students, and now she automatically gets an A, and she gets a high school diploma from the 5th grade because she said, I'm the best. So she automatically, that's it. Asma, congratulations, you're going to college. What did I do this week? There's my babies. They're not mine, but there's my little Vanessa and my little Sam. We played. They always give me joy and exhaust me. And then I went to the city. I had company, special company that was over, and we went to Becco's in New York. Becco's is a great spot if you want to grab some delicious Italian food. Not Italian. A ribeye is not Italian, but we make exceptions and excuses for the rule. Thank you, Abby. Yes, we sure are. You're quite an educated young lad yourself. And so Becco's is a great spot in New York City. If you want endless pasta, you have to go there. And then my favorite show that's out right now, and I've been lucky enough to see a bunch of shows, but I'm watching the show when it was off Broadway at the Signature. Larry Owens starred in it back then. Now Javier Spitz. I'm gonna mess it up. Spivey is on the boards right now in A Strange Loop. We went and saw it on Saturday night. It's so good. I'm so happy I told Christine Clifton, who's watching, to watch it because she loved it. It is such a brilliant, beautiful show that's telling the story of what it's like to be a Black queer person in America right now, and growing up that way. And it's done so well and so in your face. It's really modern and beautiful. And then last night, a couple of teacher friends and me went back, and I went back to down to Hadestown. We got to see Andre DeShields before he leaves this week. Anais Mitchell is on this show next week, and she wrote Hadestown. And we saw Eva and Reeve and Patrick Page, who's so great, and all the people who have been on the iterations of my show. It's so good to see them do Trinidad. It's so good to see them do what they do best and to be entertained by them. So that show's still out, and it's so beautiful. It absolutely is, Christine. I was so happy. The arts are certainly therapeutic and healing, and inspires and connects us. It's connected us, and it definitely teaches us about other people and their experiences, for sure. It is therapy for me. I knew when I walked out of work yesterday after a trying, emotional day, being in a school classroom all day, it was so nice to be able to go and see a show and just get lost in it all, and in a supportive, beautiful way. So it was a good week, and this coming week is bananas. June is a crazy month for me, so gratefully. So that leads us to what some people love just because they like this graphic.
Cause I'm shameless.
I am. Here's the part where I just shamelessly talk about myself. Well, a year ago in July, I put out an album called Unfinished Business. And that album, which you can get at robertbannon.com or on Amazon or stream it, has allowed me to do so. Hi, my friend Richard Skipper. I adore you. And congrats on your shows this week. Lucy Arnaz, so good. I love her. And I've never met her, but I love her. You can go to robertbannon.com. So the shameless plug, as we talk about this coming, watch Richard Skipper. Go to Richard Skipper Celebrates. Watch him on YouTube. He does shows all the time, and he's wonderful. He's the best interview I've ever done. He is the most in-depth. This is a carnival. He's like Barbara Walters. So we have tons of events going on. I'm grateful to have been doing a bunch of shows. So I'm hitting the road and I'm going all over the place. So if you're watching right now and you're new to the show, let's get my face off of my face. If you are coming, you could come see me. Let's go through some of these events if you don't mind. I am going to be on Thursday next week. We won't have a show on Thursday. We'll have a show on Wednesday, June 1st for Pride, because I will be in Jersey City. I'm hosting the New Jersey Pride Chamber of Commerce's Pride Month celebration. It features Olivia Lux, DJ Mike Cruz, and Boudoir de Ferrer. I'm not a French. That was my horrible. You can get your tickets and see information for all of this is all available. That was the worst French of all time at robertbannon.com. And then then Saturday, I'm going to Delaware. So if you're in the Delaware area, like my friend, lots of lattes. If you are here, you can see me. I'm up on the top, and Pandora Box is going to be performing from Drag Race as well. And all of this lineup, so you come see me. There's a meet and greet where we can take a picture and say, hey, tell me you came to watch my nonsense. I'm looking forward to seeing you. You can find that information also at robertbannon.com. And then just today, they asked me to be a part of New Jersey Pride. New Jersey Pride is in Asbury Park, and that's going to be on Sunday. So I'll be at New Jersey Pride performing on Sunday. And then on Wednesday, my friend Margaret Josephs, for everybody who watches Real Housewives of New Jersey, you saw me on the show. We will be in Englewood with Mayor Wilds, and Margaret will be there. And then afterwards, we're all having a party and some margaritas at Blue Moon. So if you register, you can get a free drink. So come see me in Englewood. Where else am I going to be? Montclair Pride. I'll be performing at Montclair Pride. So if you're a Jersey person, you're stuck with me. June 11th, I'll be at Montclair Pride. I'm doing a full performance at the Pride School of Rock stage. They have a great lineup. Peppermint, who was on our show, is going to be there. Delon Burnside, who's coming on our show, is going to be there. Laura Benanti, who's been on our show, is going to be there. I'm going to be there. So I'm so excited for all of these shows. And I'll also be in, if you're a Jersey person, you know Leonia, I'll be at Leonia Pride as well. I'm doing a restaurant date that day that's sold out. I'm doing a free concert on the 23rd of July. I'm everywhere. I've just booked myself silly this summer because I'm not teaching, and I'm just going to go work and sing and meet people and shake hands and kiss babies and work. That's my plan. So go to robertbannon.com, especially if you're brand new here. I'm excited for you to be here. I hope you join us next week on Wednesday at 7 o'clock. For Pride here on the Roundtable, we're doing a whole set of shows that are focused on Pride. Everyone is welcome here. Rufus Wainwright, Anais Mitchell, my friend Jay Santino from Detroit, who's an amazing artist, and Devin Velez, who hooked it up. He's from American Idol, and he's going to be here live. And we're going to talk about music all on June 1st. June 1st. Big, giant show. Block your calendar. Save the time. It may be as long as Jim Masters' show at this point because there's 4 big guests. No shade. And then the following week, Greg Louganis is going to be here, and Greg Queen, who won Masters of the Universe, right, Abby? And then we have other shows coming up. Brandon Black was the first out character in a Medea movie that's on Netflix. He's going to be here. Kuei Tan is an amazing, wonderful trans actress who's on Dear White People and has a new miniseries coming out with Kevin Bacon. They're going to be here for a special episode. And we just announced that Angelica Ross from Pose is going to be here, and Delon Burnside, who was Ricky in Pose, is going to be here for an hour of Pose. Plus, we added an extra show, and I'll tell you more about that. More drag queens, more queer artists, more everything. It's a month of performances and shows, and I need you to be here and join me. It's a big giant month of June here at the Roundtable. I'm so grateful because the show was originally in my basement. Lee Lessick was in California. We did this show every single week, and then when that came to an end and the Broadway Cast Reunion Series came to an end, I didn't know if I could do a show by myself, and I've been so grateful that you all are watching and here and enjoying it. It means the world to me. If you happen to be in Maine or Massachusetts, I'm going to be performing there this summer as well at Booth Bay Opera House. I'm going to be in Worcester, Massachusetts, the home of Michael Orland. So if you want to go to robertbannon.com and come see me, say hello, tell me you watched the Roundtable. That was a long, shameless plug because there's too much stuff. And my poor little mother, who is so sweet, thank you, Christine. Christine says, grateful to have seen Strange Loop. Lots of talent, powerful. Thanks, Robert. Happy you have so many upcoming shows. I'm happy too. I appreciate it. Yeah, Rufus Wainwright and Anais Mitchell are going to chat together about making music. Talk about an interesting, he's a new Judy Garland album coming out. And thank you, Lattes. I appreciate that. Yes, Abby, it's a Wednesday, so your Roundtable alarm next week only. We're going to start Pride together, June 1st. Me and you and everyone here watching. You have no choice. It's mandatory. You can't disappear on me. So, and yes, there's Marie, who I was talking about. Is so happy for all of it, especially for American Idol's Devin Velez. June 1st, Devin Velez, he wrote me an email. He said, Marie said, my good friend Marie said that you're great. And I wrote him back and I said, my good friend Marie says that you're great. So I'm excited to meet him and chat with him next Wednesday. Everyone, thank a teacher, hug one another, love one another. I hope you got some love today. Thank you, Michael Feinstein. Oh, my mom tells you to please, if you would like to send a virtual tip. The money we get goes towards the show. People do send it, and I'm so grateful for them. This show is no required payment. It's from my heart to yours. But if you want to support the show and make it better, you can Venmo at Bannon, and I will appreciate that. Thank you so much for supporting the art. And every dollar goes to getting my hair cut and, goes to promoting the show on Facebook and Instagram and on social medias and YouTube. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Spread some love, spread some light, hug somebody who needs it. If you can, if you're socially distant, I forget. It's weird. We're living in crazy times. And I look forward to joining you on Wednesday. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I love Richard Skipper. Thank everybody. Much love and light. Mwah. See you all next time.